Good evening guys, welcome to my channel again. Today I shall be touching on the topic of creating family trees. Now everyone has a family. You come from somewhere, that's for sure. You have a mother, you have a father, and you have siblings. So it's a very interesting project to start off if you have interest in looking back in history to know how the families were created. I have been doing this my family tree for the past 10 years, and it is quite a rewarding project and journey. You get to meet new family members, you get to hear stories, you get to find out skeletons in the closets. So I hope that you will embark on this journey to find out who your relatives are, who you are linked to, and you may never know that you find that you're related to a very famous person. Like for me, in my family tree, I'm related to the Chief Minister of Malacca, the first Chief Minister of Malacca. Also other stories, when you do your family tree, you find that your great-grandfather may have had 4 or 5 wives, and it is interesting to know that. Okay, so how shall we go about starting the family tree? The first step is to identify which apps you want to use. There are many apps in the market, online as well as offline. The offline apps that I use is Geni. That's the genealogy apps that I prefer so far. It fits my purpose and allows me to add multiple photos to a family member in that apps itself. The other apps which I use offline is downloadable from Playstore. It's called meWho. Yeah, meWho. Find it fantastic. All the information can reside on my phone itself. It's not on the cloud, but I can make amendments very fast using the data or these apps with the data I have inside the phone. So if I made a mistake in one of the branches or type the names incorrectly or put a family member under a wrong tree, I can just do a change almost instantly. Just with meWho. Whereas if I do it through Geni, it is quite cumbersome. And I presume the other genealogy apps also face the same problem. All the apps, I will put a link below to show you where you can download it from or access it in the description. So please sometimes look at the description for links and further information regarding this video. Now, step 2, preparation. You need to prepare your family tree. That means collect all the data about your family. So the first one, of course, you start with yourself. You start with your parents. You start with your siblings. So after you've done your immediate family, then you move on to your grandparents, and then subsequently your great-grandparents, if you can go up to that level. So all this, what you have to do is just take some paper, write down the names accordingly, and see how they are all related to you. Right? So do that first on paper. The next step, preparation, is of course to collect all the photos of your relatives, of your family members. You can ask them for the group photos. The group photos are very interesting because everybody's faces are in there, so you don't have to ask them individually for their photos. Now you can get group photos usually from the Chinese New Year, Christmas, Deepavali, Okay, so usually at these festivals or these celebrations, when they come to the family house and so on, everybody likes to take a group photo. Same goes for weddings, baby showers. So these are the places where you can actually get group photos. Of course, the latest one is also the latest group photos is when you take it yourself. You ask them to group together and take that photo. So it is basically with you then. Then you don't have to ask them for their own group photos. Unless of course your family tree and you are a bit distant from your relatives or your uncles and aunties families, then you may need to ask them for their group photos. So you've already written the names down on paper of your family members of the various family groups, and you've already collected the group photos. Next is of course to try to get the more details like the birth date, death date, wedding dates, so that you can complete the information regarding that person. Just a reminder, when you're getting group photos, try to get clear photos with their faces, right? So sometimes later on when you have to upload the photos to the genealogy apps, you have to crop those photos, and sometimes cropping a blur photo doesn't really give that clarity of the person's face. I just want to talk about how to get these sources of information of your relatives. There are many areas. From my experience, I usually speak to my relatives and ask them how are we related, stories about my grandparents, great-grandparents, aunties, uncles, and that sort of information. So you can gather this information usually at family gatherings like weddings, baby showers, dads. What else you have? Festivals, cultural festivals as well. And sometimes also just by meeting friends, you just happen to know your friend is somehow then related to one family tree down the line. Another way of course is through your Facebook. Facebook is a good way of connecting to people, which some of your old friends and sometimes to your relatives who you didn't know existed before. Another source is of course through WhatsApp groups. In this group also I happen to find out that some of my friends are actually my distant relatives. We were in primary school and secondary school, we see them as friends, but later on in life we happen to come across a family member who says that, hey, that person is related to you, and it's a distant relative. And then you can trace his family side down to your side through your family tree. It's very surprising. Okay, step 3, uploading whatever you got into the genealogy apps. So this is going to be time consuming a bit, but doesn't matter. The family tree is a lifelong project. So take your time, no hurry. The only thing is that we got to be careful is that your history may be lost if a family member has died and you kind of lost that link already, or that source of information to history. So start typing in all the family names, the births and death dates, the marriage dates into your genealogy. After you've done that, Then scan the photos which you have collected, the group family photos. When you scan into the system or your phone, then use your photo editor to crop the faces of your family members. Once you've cropped the faces, then you can link it to the family members' names. And if you want to also upload other photos that can be linked to that family member, well, you can do that through Geni. You can. I don't know about the other apps, but the offline apps don't allow you to do that because it will be taking up memory space on your phone. Let's go on to step 4, which is collaborating, verifying the information you've uploaded into the genealogy apps. So how to verify is basically to print out each family tree. When you've printed out a family tree, just hand over the information to that family, head of the family tree, or to one of the members for them to check it for accuracy in terms of your birth dates, the death dates, the marriage dates, especially the names. You don't want to type in the names incorrectly. Another thing that you've got to be cautious of is that linking the family members. Sometimes it can be quite tricky, especially when you have adopted family members. So you got to be cautious that you link it correctly. So when you've identified some mistakes on the family tree, make sure that you correct it. You don't want also to have a family feud because of some little mistake. The final step, step number 5, is of course to keep your family tree alive. This is a lifelong project. Your descendants or your family will have people passing away, people having babies, people separating, people remarrying. So this information needs to be updated into your family tree. It won't happen overnight. It happened a few years down the line as you get more information of your new relatives and your past relatives. And of course, sometimes along the way, you hear great stories and you find that all of a sudden you are linked to famous persons. So it is a journey of your ancestry. Some of the history is interesting to know and some are very secretive. Whoever takes up this project is leaving a legacy for their children, for their descendants. This project is a lifelong love for your family. In my family tree, I have now 700 plus members in it. It goes down to more than 5 generations. I found stories with certain family members of my ancestry. I've heard skeletons in the closets, which some of my members didn't even know of. But that kind of secret sometimes we have to keep with ourselves. You cannot write it into the family tree, and these stories are only passed down by mouth. Unless of course you want to write a storybook on your family tree. Okay, that ends my project, my information on how to create your own family tree. I hope the video is informative to you and it will give you some motivation as to how to start a family tree. If you do like my videos, please do subscribe and hit the like button. I thank you again for watching my video, and we shall see each other again in the next video. Good night and goodbye.